So here we are, right in front of, actually there's only one football ground ever in suburban Melbourne that was between gasometers and a quarry. Of course, we're at Arden Street in North Melbourne with the centreman and hero of their first ever premiership, John Burns. How are you, Burnsy?
I'm fine, Mark. Yourself?
I'm Mark Fine. We've got
that.
We've got Rohan in the back seat, Rohan Connolly. That's the bloke bobbing up back there.
Like Jerry G.
And we're starting our drive at North Melbourne, but that's certainly not where your career started. It was a very long, circuitous road to North Melbourne. And give us an idea how you got from Warrnambool to North Melbourne via a couple of states.
Well, it first started out, Mark, in zoning was in those years, and I was zoned to Fitzroy, and I obviously showed some ability, and I had to go down and play a practice match at the old Brunswick Oval. And I did that, but when I got to the ground on the Sunday morning to partake in the game, I didn't have any football boots, so I didn't seem to be a very dedicated sort of player. It was like a bricklayer going to do a house without his trowel. So consequently, I got a lent of a pair of Kevin Murray, got a nice old touch up by John Murphy, and Bill Stevens said, look, I don't think you're ready, go back to the country and we'll catch you on the roundabout. So that never happened, but from there I went back, and I had some friends that were in Tassie, and they put the feelers out, and I got an offer to go to East Launceston in 1969. God, that's a long time ago. And I went over there and played 1 year there with in Tasmania. Fortunately enough, as we turn around this corner at Arden Street, where I've been pulled over a couple of times by the police, unfortunately.
Speeding or the other?
The other, actually, yeah. I made a terrible error, but things like that happened in those days. And I had a hotel up around the corner. But so look, that was an experience. I was young, and I played for East Launceston. We actually won a premiership, and that year was a carnival in '69, which I was fortunate enough to be a part of, and I obviously played my part in that particular role for Tasmania, although I don't think we won a game, but we pushed a couple of the bigger sides. And I came back, and I left and went back to Warrnambool.
Now, that carnival, actually, did Doc play for Tasmania with that? Was that his first year back from
Absolutely. My thoughts of Tasmanians are just, they just roll on. Baldock, Stewart, who I just loved and admired and loved watching because of the way he played in the centre. But and there's a list of thousands that you can go on. But he certainly did play that carnival. And when he first come to training, because there were three different leagues in Tassie at the time, and they met in the centre and they trained, and I watched him train, and I was supposed to be training, but I was just watching him bouncing two balls at once and whatever other tricks he could do. I was just gobsmashed and loved him with a passion.
So you went from Tassie to Perth with East Perth, and then East Perth to North Melbourne. North did really well out of WA, didn't they?
Well, they did. Kevin Murray. Kevin was he was a Fitzroy boy, but yeah. Look, Bradley Smith was another one that came out. Richard McKeldick, a sad case. When I say a sad case, Richard, sad case in the fact of the injuries that he sustained in
1975. Broke a leg.
75. It was 75 in the preliminary final. I think it was against Carlton. He was absolutely dominating, and to be like halfway through the third quarter, be best on the ground at that stage, crudely done his knee, and in those eras, if you did it as bad as Richard done, you never come back. And look, he played footy afterwards at Coburg and several other places, but just wasn't the same guy. But they had a good run out of East Perth.
Well, you haven't mentioned probably the two biggest, Barry Cable and Ross Glendinning.
Well, yeah, Ross speaks for himself. Cable, well, but I think Barry's got his own statue in Perth somewhere. But
how about my favourite? Where was Graham Melrose from?
Well, that little birdie. Graham was from East Fremantle, and and here's an unfortunate thing. Just would have been a player, and it would have been a great player in the grand final, but injured himself just prior to, and these are the ebbs and flows that some people have in footy. But
just
really
on that, you suffered a bit. I mean, North, it was a fantastic era, and they played in the grand final 5 years in a row.
We're going straight?
Yeah. and
Oh,
you go
the
to pub.
courthouse.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
left.
So 5 years in a row, North made the grand final. You played in 3 of them. 75 we'll get to, but tell us about the couple you missed.
Well, 74 was interesting. This is something else. We're playing in a grand final, and it's like obviously Barassi was the head of the ship, but the ship was already done before that. When you've got Michael and way they set the thing, and this is how I see how clubs are going down, and if they got the right model, a la Footscray, a la obviously Hawthorn, and the model that North chose then. It's like growing lawn, you rake it, you seed it, you water it, and it grows. And I relate that back to administration, and that's what North did at the time. They were up having meetings at 5 o'clock before everybody was up and about. They were the trendsetters and the leaders in everything that was going in those days, and their foundation was their absolutely first-class administration. And I might add on a bit of a shoestring, and North have always been unfortunate on that, because where we are situated in North Melbourne, there's not a lot of prosperity around here. And,
I mean, you can have a look here. It's a real working class suburb, inner city.
And we've
suburb.
always been famous words from our how will I say now go forward champion in Kekovich. We've always been at the back of the food chain, and that's always been the case. But look, as I said, back to administration, they were just second to none in first class, and they ran a very, very good ship.
Pubs and knock shops, that's what North Melbourne used to be famous for. You had a pub.
Let me tell you, I had a pub, but I don't know the other. I have heard of those establishments, but not for me.
Well, I presume there was a fair bit of traffic from the first to the latter, was there?
No doubt about that. I think what I'm meaning what you said there, Rohan. But look, I was a
good boy.
Well, I wouldn't say a good boy, but one of those things didn't interest me. I was married at the time with a lovely wife, and still have at this stage, 44 years.
Give her a plug, go on.
Well, Beverly, she's just a star, and and she was in the hotel with us, and actually all my kids actually. So that was a family affair.
Now, 44 years. 44 was a famous number. I think it might.
Ah, yes.
Was that in 75 when
75,
when Barry Cable, the champ, left his jumper at home and wore number 44?
Correct.
That's unlike him, isn't it? Wasn't he the master?
So I've got to know where this famous pub, the Courthouse,
just
was.
keep going, and first left.
Well, how did he do it? Wasn't he the master of preparation?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
One of the things that is a seventh wonder of the world, how he would do that, because he'd be out with his jumper on, his boots on at 9:30 in the morning, getting ready for the game. Before every game, he was just something else, Barry. And
I could fill in the blanks
there.
there, because I've spoken to Barry a few times actually, and the story goes that he was an absolute, as you said, stickler for preparation. Yes, but yeah, so Barry's wife,
Helen,
took the duties of, he wanted the jumper to be absolutely perfect, pristine, clean and washed, and she washed and pressed it the night before, and miscommunication, unfortunately.
Yeah, no,
he left without it. It was sitting there folded absolutely perfectly on the end of his bed, apparently.
And it wouldn't affected Barry, because he'd just go past that, because as soon as he hit the ground, he was a different person.
So we're
in Errol Street, one of the famous streets of North Melbourne.
There we are.
There was a Coles supermarket here when we were playing football. As you see, it's not here any longer.
Nice town hall.
We have the town halls are lovely, picturesque, and then we have the lovely courthouse here over there, where I ended up owning this particular establishment for a period of time.
I've eaten here. It's gone all up market.
This is a famous pub.
Well, Rohan, when I had it, I had a sawn-off shotgun and a baseball bat under the counter.
Really?
And that's a fact. I still
preparing for Olympic sporting events?
Well, there's the activities in that particular time and era were different to what are now.
Did you ever have cause to use either of them?
They've both been yes.
Okay.
So, no, look, we had lots of fun in that particular hotel, and because I was in it after I finished, the sad part about it, the only time in my marriage when there was a little bit of a, not vibrant at the moment, North Melbourne, and in those days it was worse. The hotel was nearly the undoing of my marriage, because I felt that I had the need to be partaking with every person that come into the pub for the drink, and at 6 o'clock I wasn't in all that good a state. So after a period of a couple of years, my wife did say it to me or the hotel, so I did get out of the hotel. So
That's all. Sorry, Sam.
yes.
Sam called him.
Sam.
Sam called him.
No, go on.
Oh, look, I've got to get this story out. 1975. I mean, this is there's only ever going to be 20 blokes who are part of North Melbourne or any club's first premiership. I mean,
Correct.
Depending on what era they played, and it can be anything from 18 to 22, I guess. But this is an incredible afternoon of football. You kicked the first goal. Did you kick? You certainly were busy early.
The first goal was kicked by me, and I think it was measured at about nearly 70 yards, to be brutally honest with you, Mark. So, but look, that could be a little bit either way. It could be 68, 70.
But you did pump the ball. I mean, your legs sort of were
look, I did kick the first goal.
Well,
and I had to add that
if
to it.
Mike Williamson was commentating, it's every chance. Remember Blighty's famous goal for Surrey? He says, you'd have to kick this 90, 95 metres.
so you're right. That would have made the ground 375 metres long. But coming into that game, there was an injury cloud over you, and what seems now to be the most easily detected subterfuge worked brilliantly. Just explain how you concocted an idea to keep Hawthorn off the scent.
Well, like as much as you hate Hawthorn, and I've said this quite regularly, but I just admire him. We did a documentary for Channel 7 years ago, and
the final story. Yeah,
and the same thing was applied. They said Hawthorn. I said, well, stuff Hawthorn. We played football. We enjoyed football. When you played Hawthorn, and I'd like to go out on a Saturday night and have a wine or this and that, blah blah blah. But when you played Hawthorn, you couldn't make any arrangements because you didn't know where you end up because of the way they play their football. So, and this is why you admire them, and still to this day, way they go about their business. They're so good. They're so professional. They're so close, and that is great. So I did have an injury. I had a shoulder injury. I don't know if it was my genius thoughts, but I think the medical staff or some smart person in the medical staff felt that. Okay, they'll have a crack at me because of maybe because of the shoulder. Maybe they thought I might stand up to the pressure. I don't know, but anyway, we taped up the opposite shoulder to what the good one was, and sure enough, out they come, and out come Hawthorn, and every opportunity, the way they went, and started hitting the right shoulder, which was as good as goal.
Now, who's they? Lee Matthews?
Well, Lee was one. Calvin, Welch, there was just the normal predators. But look, when I say that, Lee, that's Lee. But every Hawthorn player played in a similar vein. Like the way they do it now. They hunt in packs, and if there's an opportunity, like Hodge, just take Hodge for example. How good's he? If he had been playing, he would have been the first bloke out there whacking it at 100 miles an hour.
Well, it's sort of toughness and skill in equal measures, isn't it?
Absolutely, and I heard him this morning on the radio on the way in. You just, at my age and so far down the track, love him with a passion. Never met him, but love the way he goes about his job.
You played with some absolute characters. Now, one of them, legendary, the great galloping gasometer. The gasometer's gone, and sadly so is Mick Nolan. But why don't you take us to the pub that he supposedly used to have a few frosties at every day?
No, that's interesting, Mark. But we go down here, right to the end and turn right. We'll go to the lights and we'll just move over to the left-hand side. And this is an iconic hotel. This is a lady called Ma Flynn who owned this hotel. I think she was North Melbourne's ticket holder, and she was probably the only one, and she had in those days, quite a good little hotel, and she was very, very kind to North Melbourne. She was just a great supporter and a lovely lady, and I happened to work there for a period of time when I first came across from Western Australia, and Michael was working for the Gas and Fuel, not far from the gasometer, so he would come in at lunchtime, and he must have got out of his office fairly early because he was there about 2 seconds past 12, and in those days they only had a half an hour for lunch. But that allowed him in that time to probably have 9 medium-sized pots. And just near 12:30, maybe 4 or 5 seconds to where he had to go back to work, maybe 19 seconds because it takes 10 seconds to walk back to work, he'd secure a pie and off he'd go. And sure enough, the next day, you'd see him there. That might be a Monday. He'd be in Tuesday. And then the next time I'd see him, he'd be training.
How did he just even looking at his shape out in the field, I mean, you could see the gut.
Well, it was a gut, but he had a gut.
Well, how did he get away with it at that level?
Well, I don't know, because I remember the story goes, and it was quite true. But I'll tell you one thing. He had really good set of pins. He used to wear my shorts. He lost his shorts one day, and I wore 34, which was okay at the time, not now. So he's often wore my size shorts. So he had no bum, blah, 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 and it's just this gut. But when Ron Joseph threw him onto the oval one day when he recruited him, and Brad looked out the window, he said, "Who in the hell is that big fat fella out there? Where's he come? What is he doing there?" And so it was quite comical for a couple of hours till they determined that
The bloke could ruck though.
He was a great tap ruckman,
You ask Cable.
Yeah.
Oh, he was a gun.
Yeah.
And he'd get off the ground, and if you ever seen some of these old clips where you see him running through the MCG, it was just like, wow, you get a laugh today because it was like a big rhino running down. But he was a fantastic ruckman. And testament to his ability when you get a bloke like Barry Cable saying he's the best one he's actually rove to. So, and Caves has been through a few. And Mark, I don't know if we got the camera on, but this is the establishment here where Mark Flynn, who is a legend of North Melbourne,
and it's now a Vietnamese restaurant.
Correct. Things change.
They do change. And
Mick would walk in that door 4 days a week. So that's
not anymore.
Four nines and 20. What's 4 nines? 36. Well, there's 36 spots we'd know we'd have before you'd start trying.
And North.
I wonder if there's a modern day equivalent who loves a big bowl of pho, the noodle soup. Gets in there every day for North Melbourne.
We used to go to Dom's in Victoria Street.
Yeah,
that was an interesting one. If you want to go to Dom's,
you saw some interesting characters in there. Didn't
Absolutely.
You? Yeah.
In those days, there was everybody who's the who of football, but we at Arden Street, as we drive past again.
I was thinking who's who of the underworld. To be honest.
You said that, Mark.
Where were the gasometers? Were they
over here?
So they were right there.
Side. Yeah, we could see them.
There, brilliant.
And that, as you see on the right, the fence there, we were playing Hawthorn there one day, and you talk about lethal, and the fence is very close to the boundary line. I would have thought no more than 6 feet, which is bloody close. And in those days, North Melbourne, we'd get 25,000 to that ground. They would jam back, go here, and then first left. And I was running around the outer one day in the boundary, and it was my ball. And I could see only a person coming the other way was Lee Matthews at 100 miles an hour. And I thought, I'm in a bit of trouble here. So I thought my method of attack was defence. So I was heading over the fence when he just happened to clip me, and I ended in an old lady. She was sewing, doing 3 back and 1 forward. But I just felt it was a nice place to be instead of being out fronting on with lethal.
Now we've ringed the ground a couple of times. We've seen the courthouse.
This is where they used to have 2 up. Sorry, not allowed to say that, eh?
Of course you are.
Oh, okay, yeah. We used to go to 2 up here and play that. See, isn't it amazing how has it changed? It was so much fun in those days. You'd do your training, and I don't think I could, and I suppose a few others I hope would be the same. I don't think we could play these days. Turn left.
That's a really interesting point.
So you reckon the fun's gone out of it?
Oh, like have a look at Dane Swan. Don't not mention his football.
Yeah.
Because it stands for itself. But he appears to be a character, and he's got a sense of humour like a wicked dog. But I don't know how I really don't know, and I only name him, and I don't like Collingwood, but I don't know how they put up with they're sort of they're screened all the time. Drugs and all that. I'm with the mainstay in that. Well, but you look at the other side of the coin. They can't drink. They can't do this. They can't do that.
And then the worst is always assumed. I can tell you as a fact that somebody like Dane Swan goes out of his way when he's out and about to do the right thing, and in being quiet and going to the side, that just is fuel for some people to start
Absolutely.
malicious rumours
But he's one
about
of those people, if people talk to him, he talks to them.
He's
you know,
great. He's great. He's
Look,
a lovely
I
bloke.
don't know. I haven't met Dane. I know his father Billy was a bloody gun.
He was.
Absolute gun. And I have met, and he comes from a good breed, and you know, sometimes I feel sorry for those sort of blokes in this modern day and age. You're supposed to go straight if you're going to Doms.
We'll go to Doms.
Now, well, I think we've got to actually start winding things up.
Which means it's music time.
Yeah. Now,
It's an interesting choice.
No, tell you what. You know, I'd say this is like being on the carpet, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, I wear Aquila shoes and Expedition apparel clothing.
Yeah.
Is that a fair plug?
You've more than
Yeah,
right.
absolutely.
Hey, I've got to ask you this. You were a little champ of the 70s, and a lot of footballers ended up on World of Sport on a Sunday. Were you ever invited in there?
I did go once.
Did you get the chocolate? Did they really give you the Ballantines chocolates and the Patra?
The Patra.
Yes.
Did you get to take it home?
Well, I was better than that. I got a golden boot. Who was that? Bill Murrell, something. There was a footy show that was ran by him at the time.
They gave you a golden
boot. I still got it to this day. Not worth $2.
Was that
but still I've got it.
that might have been, was that Football Inquest? They had
No. It was some.
Was that goal of the year or goal?
No.
the Golden Boot Award.
The Golden Boot Award. I've still got it. As I say, it's high up on the mantelpiece, but it's traded. There's no value there. So. Yeah.
It's by a Dane, is it?
Danish.
Lucas Graham.
Bit of reminiscing.
A bit of reminiscing and a bit of looking forwards, and I reckon that's what we've done today.
Yeah.
Exactly, if you get the drift.
I don't know, I can barely remember when I was 7 years old. Can you remember when you were 7, John?
Mate, my parents died when I was very, very young, when I was 5, and this is why there's always a relation to something, isn't there?
Yeah. Oh, that's
And I
nice.
think this is something.
It's a great song.
Absolutely.
And I tell you, right,
Listen to the words.
we're all headed here.
Yeah. Too fast.
I don't think there's a bloke that probably encapsulates the skill it takes to play footy. You were known as a little rogue, I reckon, when you played, but you.
A crab. Jeff Polder used to call me a crab. I think it's a little bit unfortunate, but hardly got knocked off the ball.
Well, I'll tell you this. What modern footballers, and they know what they're missing. They believe me, they know that they don't get the same friendships, the same social life that
Correct.
the old footballer had. And whatever's been lost in footy, whatever was great about playing it, and about the great privilege it was to be a league footballer with the mateship and the doors that would open, I reckon we've got the living, breathing example of it. John?
Mateship was great. The doors open too. But these young guys, they do get a good pay packet.
Yeah.
So that's something. And in saying the pay packet, I can't see that envelope. Mark. Sorry.
Well, I'll tell you what I do have for you. I've got the most genuine handshake a bloke could give. You're an absolute ripper.
I thought you were going to say you got the baseball bat and gun under
No,
the bonnet.
it's in my car just up there.
Thanks, John. Been
Not
a
problem,
pleasure.
Mark. Nice meeting you, son.
John Burns, centreman in the 1975 premiership, and I can tell you this, and he'll only say maybe, but I'll say definitely, had there been a Norm Smith medal, we'd be talking to the man who won the Norm Smith medal the day North won their first flag. Thanks a lot, John.
Maybe.
Brilliant, mate. Just brilliant.